Women, I am speaking to you today. I got asked the other day, what do I wish I knew when I started out in my leadership career? And I thought about it for a while and I wanted to write about it. I wanted to write a bit of an article and I wanted to share with you some of the things that I learned through my career. And I'm sitting here in my warm, cozy office. I'm at home here in the foothills in this beautiful rural valley in New South Wales, Australia. You can tell there's some soft light dappling in. I can see the stained glass windows in front of me. It's raining outside. It's quite a gentle rain. So everything is glistening with the wet. It's just beautiful. I can hear the sound of the rain lightly on the roof. I can hear my wind chime on my veranda tinkling in the wind. I've got my tea and my water here with me. And I have this sense of contentment that makes me smile. Because this is a dream that I had early on in my career. To be working this way, to be living this way, to be making a difference in the way that I get to do now. And it all seems quite surreal and strange, particularly because all morning this morning, over the last few hours, I've actually spent all my time on Zoom coaching professional women, a CEO of a not-for-profit, a government team leader, a technical specialist who's looking to build her career. And all of them amazing, talented, phenomenal women, powers of force in themselves. And yet each of them frustrated, overwhelmed, some of them even on the brink of tears. They were saying things like, what's wrong with me? Or I'm getting to interview for these more senior roles, but I'm just not landing the role. I get told I'm second or third choice. I feel like I'm doing all of the things, but it's not working anymore. I'm frazzled. I'm overwhelmed. I feel so stupid. I'm smart. I have degrees, but I've got blindsided by this. I didn't see it coming. These are some of the things that these women have been saying to me, and that many of the women that I coach through my Manager to Leader Shift program say to me. Each of them has phenomenal talent and potential, and yet each of them suffering a similar ailment, that sneaky imposter syndrome, that feeling of I'm never quite good enough, that feeling that I can't compete maybe with the males in the workforce or the other women ahead of me already. That sense of I believe that I have to push harder, work harder, do longer hours, do more, be more excellent, be more perfectionist in order to gain recognition, respect, and reward. And I get it because I've felt it too. And I had this really strong vision of how I wanted to live, work, and play, of how I wanted to be a servant leadership. I studied servant leadership in my mid to late 20s when I studied my MBA. And as part of my master's thesis, I looked at Robert Greenleaf's work in servant leadership alongside the work of Collins and Porras and what made the most successful organizations and company cultures. And I was like, damn it, I want to do that too. I want to build a great team and culture. I want to impact the community in a big way. I want to be of service. I want to stretch into this leadership the way I believe I was meant to be. I wanted to be the leader, to blaze the trail, to scale the ladder. And I wanted to have a powerful, positive influence. And then one day, I hired a coach for myself, a mentor of sorts. And they actually said to me, why the rush? Why the rush, AJ? Why the push? Where are you going in such a big hurry? And it was not what I expected, right? Because I'd hired this person to help me get to the next level in my career, to help me scale, to help me go from being a manager to a director. And when they asked me why the rush, why the push, I was like, but isn't that why we're here? To set goals and achieve them and make stuff happen? So at first, I didn't get it. And in actual fact, it took me a few years for it to really start to land home. It took me leaving that job and career. It took adrenal fatigue. It took me no longer having female hormones, to not having a period for years, to having relationship strain, to having graying, thinning hair, to having my doctor tell me I was pre-diabetic. In order for me to go, maybe there is a different way. Maybe I am rushing to get nowhere. And so when I was asked the question, what do I wish I knew when I started my career? There was all sorts of stuff that came up around this. And so I want to share with you some of those things, in order to value the process, to honor yourself and your personal experience, to do the inner work, to build your own confidence, competence, and credibility with yourself first, to keep your promises to yourself before you start extending them to others. And so in my career journey, I had to learn to let go of chasing, of rescuing, of saving the world, of changing the world. And instead, I had to come home to me. And it felt weird to go slow. But when I started to go within, when I started to strengthen those foundations and to know myself and turn into my body first, because I had become a headless chook. I am the first to say I was a head running around with some dear little body trying to do stuff underneath, but I was so disconnected. I didn't even know that all those things were out of whack. I would have told you I was completely well. And I showed up pretty fit and healthy, and I would have said, I'm fine, I'm good. And so the beauty of sharing this video with you and writing this article is that I get to live this twice. As I write, think, and reminisce about this memory, I'm reliving the truth of that moment, those years when I realized I'm already enough. And in that realization, I realized my dear little body was just trying to protect me, to support me, to guide me through the up levels and the expansions that were happening. Because growth is our natural birthright. We're meant to grow, whether it's up a career ladder, whether it's to grow a family, whether it's to grow in our own psyche and awareness and our consciousness. We're meant to grow. We're meant to get better. Otherwise, we would be contracting and dying. But my dear body was trying to calibrate all those changes. And by me pushing, I was pushing too hard and too fast and not allowing the calibration process to happen. I just barreled right on through thinking, I know what I'm doing, when clearly I did not. And so when I finally started to listen, when I finally started to dig in and go, let's just pull back, sit back and observe what's going on here, I began to see that I was chasing an invisible dream. I was caught in a pattern of putting myself second and putting everyone else, my team, my workplace, my boss, the ministers I work for, first. And in doing this pattern of putting others before myself, I was actually creating an energetic boundary around me that meant I was actually hard to become a friend of as well. I was hard to love. I was so in my stuff. I had an employee and a dear friend tell me once, you don't have to talk about work when we're outside of work, because all I thought of was work. And so I was repelling what I most wanted. And all my pushing and work was making it harder to work with me. It was making it harder for me to be approachable. And I just wanted to be of service. And yet all I was doing was shoving people away. It was frying all my energy. I'm sure my telomeres are shortened as a result of those years of pushing. And I was pushing away what I wanted most, which was ease and grace and flow. And so I began a process of being coached. And for once, I began being coachable. I softened my perfectionism. I dropped some of my long hours work ethic and started to learn how to work smarter, shorter, to batch stuff, to let go of the things that didn't matter and to focus on the important things. Because up until then, I'd been majoring in the minor. Outside of work, I took up yoga and meditation. And I would have told you in the past that I couldn't meditate because of my busy brain. How many people with ADHD or in this modern society do you hear say that? I can't meditate. I gave up pounding the treadmill daily. I had a really strong, expensive treadmill on my back veranda, and every day I got out and pounded that thing. And I gave that up. I walked. And I walked outside. I walked the trees and the streets and heard the birds, smelt the grass. I walked my dogs in the environment, and I started to enjoy being in nature rather than, can I do another kilometer on this treadmill facing a blank wall of a house? And so I slowly, gently adjusted my goals, my intentions, and began aligning all my energies. Did it mean I didn't have goals and ambitions? No, I still had those. That's who I am. But I aligned myself so that all of my energy bodies, my physical, my psychological, my mental, and my spiritual energies all started to line up. And so I repeat when I was asked this question, what do I wish I knew when I started my career? There are so many lessons. And there are a few standouts. And I've been journaling here today. And so I've got a couple of points, a couple of lessons that I want to read out and share with you. Okay. So there will be ups and downs along the way. That's completely normal. We will experience excitement and wins, as well as have boring, mundane days. Both are good. Every conversation shapes us and grows us. And it also shapes the other people and the culture we're in. So baby steps are fine. When you're constantly rushing and chasing, you can miss the best bits, the bits that are in those moments. So stop and eat cake with your team, your kids, your family. Learn from mentors, guides, and elders. They are not kidding when they tell you they've seen it all before. And I have learned so much from people in the workplace, guides and coaches, but also First Nations elders that I've sat around circle with. Nature has a divine timing and they know how to work with her. They're never in a hurry. And they're never in a hurry for me to get to my awakening and my enlightened epiphany either. They know that it'll come around in its own time. Why the rush, AJ, right? Why the rush? Your networks are invaluable. Invest in them, honor them, and respect the people that you know in all walks of life and wherever they're at. They are an irreplaceable part of your journey and your tribe. Always extend respect. Couple more. Knowledge and skill sets are fully transferable, and they can be gained through many avenues. You know, personal development and spiritual exploration have been just as valuable to me as my MBA was. In fact, sometimes more. Here's one. Confidence shows up on the other side of trying, not before. So we're not ever going to feel completely confident when we're trying something new. So we've just got to pull on our big girl pants and lean into that. Be grateful for each and everyone who's along the path with you, whether that's above you, below you, beside you, your family and friends, other colleagues. We're all just dear little humans trying to navigate this messy thing called life and career. So just be grateful. Imposter syndrome. I guess that's what, in some ways, a lot of this is about. Imposter syndrome is a byproduct of your expansion, because when you're expanding and moving into the next level of your career, when you're trying something new, when you're saying to your family, can you support me? I'm going to have a go for this new job, or whatever it might be. Your subconscious is going to want to keep you safe, and so do your people. So learn to sit back and be the observer, because growth always comes on the other side of that comfort zone. So really, it's not so much about imposter syndrome as it is about an experience of expansion and the symptoms of that. So learn to recognize that, take care of yourself, and ask others to support you through those times as well. Seasons, right? It's not always and for always, it's seasons. Okay, the last one. And possibly the toughest, but the most profound lesson, I would say, is believe in yourself. Your career success comes down to 20% actual tactics and strategy, 20%, because 80% of it is mindset and your energy. You just got to believe in you. You've just got to back yourself. I'd love to hear, what have been some of your lessons on your career path? Have you had a similar journey as well? What's yours been like? And what do you wish you knew before you started out in your career? Share your thoughts. I'd love to know. Thanks for listening.